Cool, man. So, following on from our last conversations, basically we spoke a lot about the challenges and the way we are moving in this world. One of the scenarios that, you mentioned, right? I've got some technical implementation questions. Like, how do people start when they are working with legacy systems and procedures?
Now, in my view, legacy environments present quite a bit of a challenge from creating a culture as well as creating this observability environment. And the problem is not just technical implementation, because what I found a lot, and especially things like COBOL, there's no libraries, there's nothing available. So people are very quick to just say, no, we're not going to do anything because there's nothing. So the challenge that comes in that we have to think about is what is available and is it justified? Because if a system is running for, let's say, 20 years old, like a COBOL system, just to go and instrument the system is what is the risk investment? And what is the risk of changing code and deploying it? So we have to think about all of these things. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't be doing it. What I usually recommend is, as an organization, start by making a decision that we won't develop code or deploy anything that is not instrumented. So the only time when these systems typically get deployed is if something changes or there's bugs. So at that point in time, to fix those things, do some instrumentation, add it, because it is worthwhile to monitor it. But start there, because that starts building the culture. So not just, okay, we're not going to do it. Just draw the line and work from that line forward. Don't try and catch everything up.
Interesting. So, on the decision to make, observability part of the variables, as it would ensure we have metrics in all new code in the future?
I would typically say yes, all new code. The catch, however, is if you fix a bug, that's still new code. But I wouldn't spend the time to go and catch up everything because there's no return on investment. But going forward, start catching up.
No, that's good to hear. So, as you said, starting somewhere is always vital, right? And making the
Yep.
journey easy and simple is essential, right? I mean, good point about COBOL, right? I mean, so how many banks are still running COBOL in the back end, right? And you got developers who've been working on it since the 70s, still working there. So, it is
Yep.
interesting. So, have you seen similar challenges with environments where it's digital first and supported by modern approaches?
What we've seen there is similar things sometimes because the tools are there, but people just don't take that step forward. But what we always see there is there's a lot of tools. It's not just coming into a place and saying, all right, we've got one logging tool or one instrumentation tool. There's a lot. And typically, if you look at the offerings from these tools, they overlap. And the part that sometimes scares me a little bit is you get these drag and drop solutions whereby the sales line says, just install this and kind of we'll do the rest and we'll just instrument and weave our code in. And then suddenly you get all of these magic results. The problem with that one is where's the context? So all of these tools do add value, but the part to be careful of is that options is overwhelming, as well as the data, as well as the notifications. And as you very well know, the moment you start overloading people with notifications, they get desensitized and the importance of the notification just goes lost. So the problem with these things is it's out of control and there's just too much. And that's what we have to be very careful of.
Yeah, that's true. That's a very good point. I mean, I think if you bring up a chart on the set of tools that are available out there for any IT, observability specialists, the chart
Yeah.
will just blow the screen away with all the different solutions out there, right? And yeah, no mistake, right? There's a lot of great tools out there. They all add value, but the challenge, as we all know, is that they all carry a cost of maintenance and
Yeah.
cognitive overload if they need to be better managed.
Yeah. All of these things push for our attention and data. I mean, it's why do we write softwares, for people's attention and data? So we have to be very careful of striking a healthy balance between what is valuable, what is data, what is too much, and basically just how do we interpret all of this information all the time to make it useful? Otherwise, it's just a massive amount of noise.
Yeah, that's right. And there's so much, believe it or not, we are in 2023, and after all the tools that have been out there implemented everywhere, people are still having a challenge on finding the right answer. So, are there some recommendations you usually provide to clients or colleagues that help overcome these challenges and get them started? Either they're on the journey to observability, or they think they are already on the journey, but get them on the right track.
I think the first point, and really happy to share this information because I think it's really important, at least from my perspective where I'm sitting with clients, is take a step back and understand what is your intent with what you're trying to instrument. It's not just here's a lot of data and we hope for the best. What is your strategy? Sometimes called even a data strategy. Then get the skills and make sure you can maintain and progress the solution, especially dashboards and notifications, because we often see consultants like myself come in, we do a lot of work, and when this gets handed over, it kind of stops there. So this needs to be progressed. It's a living system. So as a consultant, what I usually recommend is get somebody in there just to set up a bit of a baseline, help you to instrument some of the systems and gain the knowledge, because then you know what this means. It doesn't address the business problem as yet, but get some runs on the board and get some wins in there. The responsibility of the consultant is to make sure that the solution is not dependent on the consultant. So very important, that skills transfer. But as we discussed a little bit earlier, that's the easy part. That's the technical side. And anybody can actually kind of do that part. However, now let's think about the business side. And that's slightly more complicated because you have to look at this in two ways, at least the way that I approach it, is firstly look forward to what may affect your customer journeys, and then look backwards of what has affected you so far. And it gives you these two things. Let's look at the backward side first. Typically, what are the top 10 things that has affected you so far? This can be outages, downtime, things that were slow, things that affected the customers. And it's not always fun to look at these things, but it gives you a good starting point to say, let's instrument these because this might happen again. This definitely doesn't cover all of it, but it's a good starting point. It gives you a bit of a checklist to go down. Also, it proves the promise, because with observability, we make all of these grand promises about having this data real time and visibility around these things. So this proves the promise that, remember that thing that happened 2 weeks ago? Now we can keep an eye on it. So good starting point. Then looking forward, what are the things that is important to business in these customer journeys that might affect them? And typically there's not a lot. Maybe it's a payment site. Maybe it's somebody logging in. Maybe it's not customer, but website response, search, these things. If these things can affect business result, instrument them and get them on the chart, because then business knows how to handle things that happened previously, but they also have an eye on things that can come up that can affect their business. Now, if you consider all of these things, whereby you have to think about going backwards and going forwards and having all different systems and all of these different people, you can understand why I've always relied, personally, even, many years ago, why I rely on Grafana and Prometheus across the board to actually do this observability approaches. Because although these things can provide you with a bit of a light touch approach, these things are intended as a starting point to be tactical, low cost, and able to support future requirements. Because a lot of times you get these tools and you have to spend so much to get the tool up and running and do so much investment, and there's not a lot of results yet. So start small, grow, and build from there. But what I've always done is you use these tools, I democratize all the data, establish this end-to-end observability capability for all the levels in the organization. So from execs through to managers, through to developers, and they can all see the value of this. So if you take all of these tools, everything, and instrument it, build it, help them where they are, you meet the industry and your clients where they are. Not where the tool thinks they should be, or if you do this, then we can do this. using this, we can meet them where they are and again prove the promise. So my recommendation is look forwards, look backwards, start small, and be able to grow.
Cool. Very insightful, very knowledgeable. Thanks, Corneile. Always appreciate your support here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joe. Let's catch us soon.